Restoring a vehicle. Done right, it can be one of the most rewarding things you can ever undertake. Done wrong, it can turn your life upside down. Shake the money out of your pockets and squeeze the sanity from your brain. Stacey David's Restoration Series is here to help you do it right. So you can keep your money and your sanity. And enjoy the fruits of your labor. So grab a wrench and let's get cranking. Stacey David's Restoration Series is brought to you by LMC Truck, Keep 'em on the road, and Cornwell Tools, the choice of professionals.
Hey, welcome to the Gears Restoration Series. If you're watching this, that means you're probably interested in getting into some sort of restoration project, or you might already be in the middle of one, and that is great. Whether it's a car, truck, motorcycle, it doesn't matter. But statistically speaking, things are not looking too good for you, because out of the thousands and thousands of projects going on across the nation, only a tiny percentage will ever get finished and enjoyed by the owner. The rest usually end up the object of hate and loathing as they slowly suck away your life and your life savings. Yeah, it happens all the time and it needs to stop. So, the purpose of this series is to not only show you how to plan and finish a project, but also how to enjoy the process and ultimately enjoy the fruits of your labor, something that you built with your own two hands. So, let's get to it. Okay, the first and biggest mistake that people make when they get into a project is they flat out choose the wrong project. Now, I'm not talking about doing a car instead of a truck or a Ford instead of a Chevy. Now, I'm talking about the difficulty level and the magnitude of the project. And if you mess up here, man, it is going to bite you hard on the tail end. But the question is, how do you know what kind of time it's going to take and the magnitude of a project if you've never done it before? That's a good question. So to help you out, we put together a list of the 5 types of projects that are out there, number 1 being the easiest, number 5 being the hardest, so you can choose before you start which one works best for your skill level and your budget. And if you've already gotten into a project and gotten sidetracked, hopefully this list will help you get back on track because you can see where you got off. Level 1 is the Get It Running and Drive It project. Now, obviously, this is the cheapest and easiest type of project out there because it involves taking an old vehicle that's been sitting in a garage or a barn and getting it running again so you can drive it. And an older restoration is a perfect example of that, as well as an older motorcycle that may have been sitting around for a few years. Now, it's important when you're looking for a level 1 project that the body, the paint, the interior, and the glass are all in good shape, because it's not in the plan or the budget to replace any of that stuff. So make sure you look it over close for accident damage, rust, poorly done or hacked up repairs, anything that's going to be an issue for you. Also, pay special attention to bubbling paint around the wheel wells and the glass, because these are notorious rust spots. Finally, be aware that the older a vehicle gets, the more potential there is for problems. So it's really important that you stay realistic and not let your emotions run away with you and talk you into something that's beyond your price range or your skill level. And speaking of being realistic, let's take a look at the tools and equipment that you're going to need to pull off a level 1 project. You're going to need a small toolbox with basic tools like sockets and wrenches and screwdrivers, pliers, vice grips, a drill, that kind of thing. And as far as space, a 1-car garage or a carport should do it. As far as skill, you're going to need a basic understanding of how a car works, because you're going to be changing things like fluids, going through the fuel system and replacing or rebuilding the carburetor, the fuel lines, and the fuel pump. You'll also probably need to do some light electrical work like replacing points and plugs, a battery or an alternator, and possibly going through the cooling system. It sounds awesome! Now we're ready to move on to the level 2 project, the mechanical and cosmetic restoration. And this is where your planning starts to get important because you're getting into a real restoration project. And if you don't plan it out, it is not going to go well for you, I promise. Now, obviously, you can try to document what you're doing with a pad and paper. Guys have been doing it for years. But the problem is this gets destroyed and torn up and lost, and it just keeps track of what you have done, not what you plan on doing. So a few years ago, I wrote this project planning book, which was made to allow people to plan their project, decide what they're going to do, put in their budget, their timeline, everything. This is the best way to keep track of your project. Now, obviously, you don't have to use one of these, but if you don't, you got to keep track of your project somehow, because if you don't plan it out, you will lose control of it. All right. The level 2 project includes everything that a level 1 does, but it also adds things like performance engine upgrades or a new engine, and also rebuilding and restoring other mechanical aspects like the brakes, the transmission, and the rear end. It will also cover things like rust repair and panel replacement, as well as paint and body work. Another part of a level 2 project is interior work that could involve replacing seat upholstery, as well as carpet and interior panels. Okay, since a cosmetic and mechanical restoration is more about keeping a vehicle original, it's important to pick a project that you know there's replacement parts for. And you got to plan out your part source ahead of time, because you do not want to get into a project and find out you can't get replacement parts. That old DeSoto that your grandma has might seem cool, but not if you can't find parts for it. That's the kind of stuff that gets you divorced. Great examples of a level 2 project is this 81 Jeep Scrambler that needs a new engine and some paint work. This 73 Ford F-250 that needed a new bed. And this 72 Buick Riviera that needed some engine upgrades, as well as some paint and interior work. The tools needed to do a level 2 project are the same basic tools you had in level 1, but you'll also need some specialty tools as well, like engine hoists and floor jacks, and possibly some body and interior tools. Now, as far as workspace, you really should have at least a 2-bay garage so you have room for the vehicle and room to work on it. Number 3 is the Resto mod. And just like the name implies, a Resto mod is part restoration, part modification. So it's similar to a number 2 project, but instead of keeping the vehicle mostly original, a Resto mod is where you'll slide in a modern engine, drivetrain, brakes, air conditioning, that kind of thing. That way you have modern power and conveniences with a classic body style. The Resto mod is the type of project most people want to do because they're a lot of fun. But it's also one of the easiest projects to lose track of and blow your budget all to pieces. So you've got to plan one of these out. For example, this early 90s Mazda Miata will give you an idea of what's involved in building a Resto mod. We pulled out the original motor and drivetrain and replaced it with a 400 horsepower V8 and a 5-speed transmission. The brakes and suspension were also upgraded so the car would handle and stop properly with all that extra power. The body received custom panels and new paint. And to finish it off, the interior was restored to original condition. The big challenge of the Resto mod? Self-control. Because there's so much great stuff available in the aftermarket that it's easy to blow right past your budget and what you plan to do and invest in some really high-dollar stuff. This can get you in over your head and leave you with a half-finished project that you can't afford to finish. So you gotta stay focused and keep on track. Now, as far as tools, you're gonna need a full mechanics set of tools and box. as well as the proper specialty tools for doing interior, metal, and paint work. You're also going to need the ability to troubleshoot and solve problems and to fabricate parts, because anytime that you're removing original parts and putting in something completely different, it's up to you to make it fit. There's no manual for that. Because of this, the workspace required to successfully pull off a Resto mod is at least a 2-bay garage. And I don't mean a 2-bay garage that you share with your wife's minivan. I mean you have both bays to work on the project and keep your tools. Level 4 is the frame-off restoration. It's also known as the frame-up, the body-off, or the ground-up restoration. And this is where things start to get really serious, because just like the name implies, this is where you're going to actually lift the body off the frame and disassemble everything down as far as it'll go. Now, since you're going to literally replace everything that's bad, it's really important to keep things bagged and tagged and organized so you don't lose track of it. And you can also start with a rougher vehicle here, something that's rusty or damaged, as long as you have the tools and the skills to restore it. A level 4 project not only requires the tools to do the disassembly, but also the proper lifts and equipment to pick the body up off the frame. Now, since each individual component on the vehicle is going to be restored or replaced, you're going to need to have the tools and the expertise to be able to do all of that. The project will also probably need some extensive body or rust repair. This will require body tools and welders and the skill to use them. And speaking of tools, you'll need a well-stocked toolbox with plenty of specialty tools, as well as restoration tools for things like trim and glass and brakes, etc. Also, if you plan on getting up underneath or working on the bottom side of a frame or a body, a rotisserie is the best way to make that happen. Because of all of this, you're going to need at least 3 bays of workspace to pull off a ground-up restoration. Why 3? Well, you need 1 for the vehicle, you need another bay for all the parts that you're going to take off, and then you need that 3rd bay as your workspace. If you don't have the proper tools or the workspace, you do not need to be jumping into a ground-up restoration, because the step from a level 3 to a level 4 ground-up project, man, that's a big one. Most people underestimate it. Don't be one of them. And that brings up level 5, the custom build. Now, obviously, a level 5 project is going to combine all of the aspects of the first 4 levels, but it also adds a creative element. So, a custom build is when you take a vehicle, blow it completely apart, redesign it using parts from wherever, and then you put it back together in the way that you envision it. Sometimes it's an original style restoration with the addition of some custom body or metal work. Other times it can be more like a Resto mod that's taken to the extreme edge with custom metal work, design, and engineering. Or it can pretty much be something that you create from the ground up. Now, as far as tools for doing a custom build, it'll not only require all of the standard mechanics tools, but also all the custom fabrication tools to create what you have in mind. You'll also need the engineering and design ability to make it a safe, reliable vehicle. Now, as far as workspace, you're going to need at least 3 bays, maybe more, depending on how much fabrication you plan on doing. Well, hopefully, that gives you an idea what kind of projects are out there and what approach is going to work best for your time frame, your skill level, your budget, and your workspace. Because remember, the idea here is not to start a project. The idea is to finish one and get out and enjoy it. So get out there, start working on something, and we'll see you on the road.